Hello, Express Entry Law Facebook group members. How did you like that? See, I put this little sticky tab over the screen and I have this amazing little new countdown overlay that the program now has. So this is awesome. Hello, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer and former high school teacher, coming to you live right now. I can get rid of that. I thought I would put it up so that people could know in advance that when I was going live, and it seems to have worked pretty cool. I have got some awesome questions that were asked of me, and over the last 2 weeks, we've had a little bit of a delay in me doing these, mainly because I was enjoying some Christmas holidays, and actually through Christmas, it was so busy. I was working till midnight most nights during the week, and then answering your questions and things in the evenings. But I needed to take a few days off. So at the beginning of the last week, I took some time off, and that's why we didn't do an EE Live Q&A. But welcome, everyone. Welcome back. Dr. Niru says, how are you? I read your braces comment. It was good. Good. That's hilarious. Welcome, everyone. And those of you who are tuning in after watching this recording on the YouTube channel, you guys that are on YouTube are awesome. I get great questions from you, and I encourage you, if you can, come join on live within our Facebook group. But if not, that's okay. I'm going to spin everything out to the YouTube channel. Those of you who don't know what this is, me, Canadian immigration lawyer Mark Holthe, I host the Express Entry Live private Facebook group on Facebook, obviously. And it is now, I'm just going to show my screen here. This should work. I'm going to blow this up. What a messy screen I have. And I'm going to enlarge this. And you can see down here, we are at 91,662 members. Unbelievable. And at the rate we're going now, we're going to have 100,000 here before probably the end of the month. People are adding and sharing and liking and requesting to join. And because this is a private group, me and my admins you request to join, and then we allow you in, essentially. But pretty much we allow everybody in. We've got a few little rules just in terms of housekeeping that I've updated recently, and I'd encourage you just to go through and read them, because some people get blocked and then they're like, why did you block me? That's so unfair. Well, the reality is we do have some rules that we try to adhere to within the group. For those of you who are tuning in on Facebook, this is the video that I posted just to let people know we were going to be doing it in 30 minutes. And on the Facebook channel, I'll close out some of these here. On the Facebook channel, this is where you can actually go and search through all of the past EE Live Q&As in a way that makes sense. So they're stored chronologically, and you can see that we've done a few of these over the last little while. And so I'm trying to do a better job of describing what is contained in them, but you'll see here that within each of these videos, they vary. Usually they're anywhere from an hour to maybe a little bit more, but this is where you can go to watch all the past EE Live Q&As. And I also have within the Express Entry Law, within the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel, the testimonials from some of my clients. I need to probably ask some of the new massive group of people that have purchased the course what their comments are and see if they can give me some new updated videos. But these are some of the comments of people who purchased this little critter right here, which is the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. Some of you guys just want to do it yourself, and you have a good grasp of what you need to do, but you just need a little bit more guidance. Well, that's why I created this. And the feedback that I've gotten has been unbelievable. It's been crazy. The positive feedback, people expressing appreciation, how it's made their job of going through the whole process so much easier. And you can see here, the class curriculum that I have is broken down into bite-sized little pieces. And you can use as much or as little of this as you need. So if you're struggling with, let's say, work history, when you're completing your Express Entry profile, you can go to this lesson 14, and it's 15 minutes long, and you can just jump on and watch that particular section. And so it's all broken down. If you're single, you don't need to worry about the spouse information. And I even include a detailed breakdown of the EAPR section, which many of you struggle with. That's where I get most of my questions from. And every lesson is linked to a particular section within the express entry process. So those of you who are wondering, well, how is this going to help me? Well, can you imagine? This is like a video game. I don't know. When I was young, I used to always like playing these role-playing video games where you kind of have to navigate your way, solve problems, and eventually reach the end and rescue the princess. Well, to some extent, I guess this express entry, my complete step-by-step guide is like that, except it's a cheat. It's a way that you can follow my instructions to get through it faster than if you were having to puzzle and figure things out yourself. Going on the immigration website, going on immigration forums, and just hoping the information that you're getting is correct and that it's not someone's just guess or even their own personal experience, which may not apply to you. So anyways, these are some of the resources that I have. Actually, I want to jump on. I want to show you a couple other things too here. I'm going to blow this up big. I also want to show you some other things that I've got going on. You guys have to check out my Canadian Immigration podcast. So you can see I did the two most recent ones I did were with good friends and colleagues, Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program, the Atlantic Immigration Pilot. So this is where I get on with other lawyers and we talk about the program, some of the pitfalls, some of the good things, the bad things. And, the month of January, if you're living in Canada and you're looking to sponsor a parent or a grandparent, we did one on the parental sponsorship, which is a lottery. And there's just a ton. This is one of my favorites, Chris Enders. He is my guy. He's the guy in our group. So if you're struggling with the IELTS exam, this is how to score high on your IELTS. And this is an audio. So you can go to iTunes. You can subscribe to it. So you definitely want to check that out. And then those of you who say, Mark, I just want to hire you to help me. Well, you can go straight to my firm here and you can request a consultation, and all the fees are set out there. And there's information on myself and Billy here in our office. We've got other lawyers in other locations, but this is our Lethbridge office. And so you can learn a ton about what we do, who we are, and book your own paid consultation to get direct access to us. So I also thought I would jump back and just remind everyone, I'm going to blow this up again. I just want to remind everyone that we do have just about 92,000 people. And so if I scroll through here, you can see right at the beginning, people were asking me, Mark, what are your legal fees? Well, right at the top, if you want to know how much I charge to fully represent you, because I'll be honest, I love it when you purchase my guide, but I love it even more when you hire me directly to help you do the whole process. Well, really, you're hiring me to do it for you, essentially. And but I know people only need a certain amount of help. So it just depends on the how far along the process they are. And some people just don't have time and don't want to be bothered and would rather hire me to help them do the whole process. So I've broken it down, all of our fee structures, and I've got a bronze, a silver, gold plan. I told people this week that I would explain this. So I'm just going to pop right in here. You can go right onto the Express Entry Law Facebook group, go to the pinned post. So this is the pinned post at the top. So if you're looking on your phone and you're searching through it on your phone, it's actually hidden. So you have to click on it to view the pinned post, which is kind of irritating, but it is what it is. So here you can pull up a full breakdown. I don't have any secrets. This is it. This is what I charge for my legal fees. And you can see a consult with Billy and I. We charge in Canadian dollars. And I don't have it listed here, but there's always a 5% GST. And there's some discussion about whether or not that GST is applicable. And I'm looking at it again, but it is because we're based in Canada. Anyways, $200 for a 30-minute consult with Billy, $200 an hour is what Billy charges, and I charge $400 an hour. So I can tell you, in 30 minutes, I can basically go in and answer your questions, and you can search through our group. People have hired me repeatedly, and my day is full of consults with you guys. And if you just have a few questions, it's a good way to jump on. I can answer your questions, clear up your doubts, and move forward. And I will be giving an example of that as I answer all of the questions from our Facebook group members that were sent to me in advance. So that's the consult. If you book a consult, then you can get 50% off, a lifetime access to the Express Entry Do-It-Yourself Guide. And that is a regular $497 US because it's hosted by a US company. It's in US dollars. So you get 50% off. So you book the consult and you get basically it's as if you were purchasing the guide at the regular rate. You get a consult thrown in. All right. Then we go down to the bronze plan. And like I said, I want to give you only as much help as you need. So with the bronze plan, you get the 30-minute consult. So I actually credit you already for the $200 or the $100 that you would have paid Billy for a 30-minute consult. I credit you for that. And that's blended into the $1,000 bronze plan. And what do? We develop your immigration strategy. We assess your eligibility. We discuss any of your unique circumstances, which, hey, that's why you're calling me in the first place, right? You can't find an answer anywhere else, or the answers that you're getting are conflicting, which is it's apparent in even our Express Entry Law group. And you get unlimited access to the guide. So with that $1,000, you get a free value. So it's basically $500 value right there. You get the guide, a lifetime access for free with the $1,000 purchase. And then you get 2 email responses to questions. So you can accumulate your questions and send me a detailed email. And then I will respond to 2 of those, and I'll respond within a week. And then at the end, you get an additional 1-hour follow-up consultation to answer any of your final questions that you may have prior to submitting your own application. And you'll see here as you look at this, it doesn't include a full review of a detailed breakdown of what you've entered into Express Entry. There's no direct legal representation, and anything after this or outside of these parameters, you would have to pay at my regular hourly rate. So that's the bronze plan. So let's see here. I'm going to try and figure out a way to get out of this one. And then I'm going to open this up. And here's the silver. And you can see the silver is $2,500 Canadian plus GST. But I can tell you guys, this silver plan is 500 times better than all of the stories I hear about how you're hiring consultants who don't tell you anything. You give the information to them, and then it's this big black hole. Well, that is not the case. This is you and me getting together, figuring out exactly what you need, what your problem areas are, and how to complete the profile from start to finish. So yeah, it's more money. It's more akin to what your consultants or your agents overseas are charging you. But here's what you get. Same story. The 30-minute consult comes in. You get the guide. So that's to help you, the $500 value or $497 value. Unlimited email support, and I'll get back to you within 48 hours. 2 15-minute phone consultations throughout the process if you need them. And then at the end, a full application review or an in-person or screen share, depending on if you're here in my area or if you're like most of you all over the world. And we go through every aspect of your profile, of your EAPR to make sure everything is correct. And we do a document review. So we look at everything. And then what's not included? Well, direct representation. It's not submitted through my profile. It's submitted, you submit it on your own. And you're responsible for everything else. So, any requests for additional information, tracking of your application, maintaining your temporary status if you're in Canada. But if you are in Canada and need help applying for a renewal, I offer a 25% discount to you for renewing work permits and other documents that if you're currently in Canada. And then notifying you about any changes with legislative or policy changes. I don't do that. Basically, after the review is over and you submit it, then you're on your own. And other assistance, we always continue to provide it, but it's just at our hourly rate. So that is the silver plan. And at any time, you can upgrade to the gold plan. All right, let's take a look at the gold plan. And you guys can all see this. You can read it yourself. So the gold is the full peace of mind concierge level service. And yeah, it's a lot of money. It's $5,000 Canadian plus GST. And GST is the sales tax here in Alberta. 5%. If you're going in other provinces, it's a lot more. But in Alberta, it's actually pretty cheap. And you would have to pay extra the immigration processing fees, which you can see are listed here, which are about $1,040 for an adult and $150 for a minor dependent child. So what's included? Everything. This is full service, guys. The consult, the guide, unlimited priority email. So I'll get back to you in 24 hours. So you rank above everybody else. You get my full attention. Unlimited phone or Skype support. If you have a question, then you set it up. And we'll set up, if you need that appointment, we'll set it up within 3 days of you asking. Unlimited in-person consultations. And if you're here in town. And those usually will need about 5 days, but we'll try to get you in as soon as we can. And then full preparation and submission of your application through my representative portal. So I manage the whole process. Guys, it's peace of mind. And then what's included with it? Well, preparation and submission of the application, conducting any legal research, drafting any legal submissions, those explanation letters, all those things that you struggle with, we assist with. We submit the application. We receive and respond to correspondence with IRCC. And you guys are copied every step of the way with every single thing that we do. When we submit it, you get a copy of your profile. In fact, your profile, we give you a copy of it to go over before we submit it. When you get your ITA, we let you know. When we get when we file your EAPR, you know exactly what it is, and you have a copy of every single thing that we submit. This is full transparency, folks. And why do I charge $5,000? Because it takes time to copy it to make sure you're up to speed. Whereas all the other guys, they basically take the information and don't tell you anything. They don't show you because it takes time, right? But that's the difference. And as you go through, we maintain oversight. We track your application status. We track your temporary status if you're in Canada to make sure that you don't fall out of status. And we offer a 50% discount on any extensions of your temporary resident status in Canada. And we also pay close attention to the policy changes. If there's something coming down the queue that I know the law is going to change in Canada, we stay on top of it and we deal with any issues that are coming up proactively. So guys, that's it. That is the full disclosure of what I charge and what we offer. And I hope you guys can appreciate when you're comparing, well, how much do you charge, Mark, to do this? What are your legal fees for filing applications on behalf of people? What's included? Well, there you go. And I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. I don't make excuses for my fees. I'm in Canada. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer, and this is my life. So, we like to think that what we're offering to you guys is awesome, but the Law Society of Alberta prevents me from saying that I'm an expert. So I'll never say that. But what I will do is I'll show you, I'll demonstrate, I'll tell you what I know. And the people reporting and giving feedback within our group will attest to the fact that I'm not out here to take advantage of you. I'm not out here to line my pockets with your dollars and then make you guys do all the work. So anyways, I'm going to end with that, but I promised people that I would go over it. Remember, you can access it by just going to the pinned post. Those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, just send me an email because there isn't a real easy way of posting it on YouTube. So just send me an email and you can see right down here, mholthy@stringham.ca. Or alternatively, you can send it to my legal assistant, Charlene, Charlene@stringham.ca in the same way. And let me just see if I have a Charlene here. Let's see. I'm just going to type it in here so you guys all have it. This is kind of fun. This program, I really love it. Anyways, there's Charlene's email right there. So Charlene@stringham.ca. Okay. All right. This is fantastic. I am super, super excited. Okay, I'm going to click. I'm going to pull up. Oh, my goodness. Look at you guys. All these comments. This is crazy. Okay, you got to hold off because I'm going to answer the email questions first, and then I'll tell you when to repost yours. So hold off on posting your questions. While we're here now, I do want to get a little response from you guys. Where are you listening in from? You guys are so patient. Where are you listening in from? All over the world. Pamela says, hi, Mark. Because of your recommendation, I'm now working with Mr. Alistair. Alistair Clark. Awesome. That is so cool. He rules. He's a Canadian immigration lawyer in Manitoba. That is awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to connect with him. Guys, I don't invite these lawyers on my Canadian immigration podcast unless I know and trust them. They're good guys who will do well by you. So that's fantastic. Very cool. Okay. Prever says New Delhi. Awesome. Welcome. Where are the rest of you guys listening to? There's a ton of you who are attending live. This is really cool. Okay. Oh, Calgary, Mohammed Calgary, right here. And I'm going to show you guys something. You've seen a lot of my posts that say, it's freezing here. It's freezing cold. Check it out. This is why I love Lethbridge. 6 degrees Celsius. It is nice and warm. The snow is melting. If I could show you back there behind that vehicle, I was able to ride my bike today. I've got little studs on the tires. Fantastic. Okay. Let's see. New Brunswick. Very cool. North, Legazpi. Hey, Atlantic Immigration Pilot, man. That's the one for you. Abu Dhabi. Very cool. Dubai. Saudi Arabia here. Hello, Yusuf. Durdana is Bangladesh. Amjad is Pakistan. This is awesome. This is so cool. I love hearing where you guys are listening. Ishan, Minneapolis. It's Sean Karan. Do you know my daughter is going to Minneapolis to serve her mission for our church? She's serving a 1.5 year mission. She leaves March 21st. And so my daughter is going to live in Minneapolis. That is so cool. Okay, Shabir's watching from India. Let's see, where else do we have? India. Oh, Lena, Ukraine. Very cool. Thanks for tuning in from Eastern Europe. Nidil is India. Naji is Victoria. Kenya. Jiju. Oh my goodness, you guys are awesome. Hyderabad, India. Arun is Pakistan. Kanval, Annam is Pakistan. We got Qatar. Okay, I better stop. It's amazing. This is getting so busy. Like there's so many people that are attending these live events now that I wish I could just interact with all of you guys. We got US, Houston. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. All right, I'm going to push Charlene off, her email address there. All right, guys, let's jump to the questions. I've spent a lot of time with some of the preamble and the lead up, but it's really important that I get to the questions that the people sent me in advance. Guess how they did it? They sent me these questions right here, which I've all reviewed and vetted previously. They sent them to my email address, mholthy@stringham.ca. So all you YouTubers, this is how you connect. And they put EE Live Q&A in the subject line. And that EE Live Q&A, as you can see right here, let's see if I can show it. Oh, right there, EE Live Q&A. That is how I search. So if you put it in exactly like that, then I search through my emails and I get hundreds every day. I pull them out and I store them. And then I go through them right before our call. So fantastic. All right. Let's push this back down here because I've now started to learn that my image, when I go to full screen mode, my image kind of appears over here. And so I try to keep everything pushed off to, oh, this is mirroring. You know what I feel like? I feel like one of those weathermen, right? Or those weather women who are working for the news channels and saying, all right, and we've got a cold front that's drifting through here. You know, it's like mirrored, so I can't, I'm always backwards. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Okay, here we go. It's time now. The first question, this one is from Dennis. Okay, no, Denise. Sorry, this is from Denise. Dear Mr. Mark, how are you? I hope you are well and wish you a great week ahead. Thank you. I have a question when filling post-ITA. Okay, so this is the EAPR portion, the Electronic Application for Permanent Residence. Denise has received her ITA. Awesome. In the form, it is asked for the date I was qualified for the work experience that I claimed points for on the CIC website. It states the following. Employment requirements. Completion of secondary school is usually required. Completion of 1 or 2 year college program or other specialized courses for secretaries or medical secretaries is usually required. Okay. All right. We're doing this, folks. We're jumping in and I'm answering these questions, not just with you having to trust me, but I'm going to show you because that's how I roll. Okay. So we're going to go right here. This is where we have this. I'm going to just, I'm going to shrink this down and I'm going to type in here, NOC 2011. And it looks like this is a medical secretary. So here's the question. When you're filing your EAPR, the government asks you when you were first qualified to work in that occupation. And they direct you to go back to here. Let's see if we can find medical secretary. Medical administrative assistants. I'm not sure which one it is exactly, but we'll just kind of guess. We'll use this one. I'm not sure, Denise, if this is the exact one. Okay, anyway, so we scroll down here. You'll see that at the bottom, they have employment requirements. Yes, I guessed right. And you can see these employment requirements indicate what it is required from an education or work experience standpoint to actually work in this occupation in Canada. And so generally speaking, this is the question. The government wants to know, when were you first authorized to work in that occupation? And so these are the two choices. Well, here's the reality. If it says usually required, it's not mandatory. So to work in this occupation in Canada, neither of these things are mandatory. When it says usually, that's a qualifier. That basically means that it's not mandatory, but it's recommended. You can have it, but you don't have to. So the answer, or at least the question that Denise says, I would like to ask for advice that I should mention the date I graduated from high school or university. Does it mean minimum requirement is high school degree? So in this case here, absolutely, I would use the high school degree. That is good enough because when it comes to the NOC, right here, you can see that the university or college program is also usually required. So I would just go with high school. So that's the date that you use. Great question, Denise. Awesome. Thanks for asking that. And I hope everybody can understand where I'm going with that. I would log into a profile, but I'd have to go through my security questions and block you guys off. And it would take too long to actually show you what the question was that was being asked. But anyways, okay. So there we go. So this one's done and I launch it into the sunset. Okay, next one. This one here is from Emika. And Emika says, hi, Mark. Please, I would like to know if it's compulsory to state my former Express Entry ID as I intend to start a new application different from what? Different from my agent filled in the past, which I have little knowledge about. Interesting, folks. Maybe give me a thumbs up, all of you guys attending live, if you've used an agent and you have no clue where your application is at and you're now wondering what to do because you haven't heard from them in a year and there's been no action, but you've paid them money that you basically tossed into the wind, just like that last question that I tossed behind me. So give me a thumbs up if any of you guys out there have been subject to the same thing that Emika has. You basically hired an agent who has probably taken your money when you don't have enough CRS points or you didn't at the time. And now because of that, you've never received an ITA, but you have no clue where your application is at. So the question is, can I just say I haven't entered the pool before, or will it have negative effect? So the question is, have you ever applied for Express Entry? So from a technical standpoint, you haven't. So when you submit your profile into the pool, you're just expressing an interest. You haven't formally applied for immigration to Canada. So from a technical standpoint, you can say no. But here's my advice, because I go beyond the technicalities. I go beyond the very minimum. If you've submitted a profile before and you don't know where it's at, you don't know how far along it is, you don't have any contact with your agent, then list your number. If you have your Express Entry number, because the same number that you're given when you submit your profile, when you get your ITA and when you file your application, it's all linked to that basic number. So you can always decline or withdraw your profile, re-enter it again, and you'll get a new e-number. But in these circumstances, Emika, I would do everything you can to figure out what that file number is, and I would disclose it. Because you don't want to take any chances. Who knows? Maybe your application is actually going forward with this consultant or this agent, and you don't know what the heck they put in your application. So you want to do that, and you want to explain once you get your EAPR, your ITA, and you're filing your EAPR, your electronic application for permanent residence. Once you've filed that, you then want to provide a letter of explanation saying, hey, I hired this agent to help me before. I have no clue where things are at. I resubmitted a new profile, so something's floating around out there. Understand? I want nothing to do with it. And so that's what I recommend. Okay, great question, Emika. There it goes, into the sunset. Not bad, not bad. Okay, this one's proof of funds. Now, you guys have asked tons of questions about this one. Usman Nawaz. Okay, so Usman, here's what they say. Hope you're good, and thank you so much for such a great help in immigration process for all interested candidates across the globe. You're doing really great work, which is an inspiration for many of us like me. Okay, I don't pay people to do this. I don't I don't pay them to pat me on the back or only select the questions where people say nice things about me. So please understand, if people say, Mark, you really suck, but I have a question that I want you to answer because you might just know, that's okay too. You guys can formulate your own opinions. Okay. Usman says, I've been following you ever since I started planning for Canadian immigration, and I watched many of your live sessions and posts on Express Entry Law Facebook group, which are of great help to me. Awesome. That is why I do this, is to truly help you guys. So thanks for the positive feedback, Usman. Mark, sadly, I came across a situation where I need your help. I've been maintaining my bank statement for proof of funds, but sadly, for one day, my bank closing balance January the 9th, 2018 was short by $300. I'm very much worried about this. Could you please explain the fact where candidates' proof of funds are compromised by some dollar for a day or two and its implication on candidates' eligibility for Canadian immigration as a federal skilled worker? Looking forward to hearing from you soon via live session, email reply. Many thanks, Usman. You know what, Usman? You don't have anything to worry about, my friend. You don't. Bank accounts will fluctuate. The most important thing is that at the time in which you file your electronic application for permanent residence, so that's after you get your ITA, your invitation to apply, when you file that EAPR, at that stage, you really need to make sure that the funds that you're uploading show bank statements and and everything, your current balance from your bank letter shows that you actually have sufficient proof of funds. Between filing your EAPR and actually getting your confirmation of permanent residence and landing in Canada, sometimes bank accounts will go up and down a little bit, but you don't need to worry about it. Make sure that you always try to keep it maintained. And when the time comes for you to actually get your confirmation of permanent residence and land in Canada, make sure that the funds are at that level. But you're okay, Usman. You don't need to stress. You clearly have the settlement funds and you'll be just fine. So don't worry about it. But make sure that when the time comes, when you have your ITA, and I don't know what stage you're at, but when you get your ITA and you're filing your EAPR, you need to make sure that those funds are at the proof of fund level at that stage and ensure that they're there when you actually land in Canada. But those of you who are thinking, great, I'll pull all the funds out and then I'll put them all back in right before I land in Canada, don't do that. Don't do that. Keep them in there. That's what the government expects, okay, to maintain that throughout the whole process. You do not want to take the chance of pulling all the funds out and then using them for something else and then injecting them back into your account. Just leave them in. Leave them right where they need to be. Okay, Usman, great question. We got some good ones today, some really good ones. Okay, this one's from James. James says, hi, Mike. All right, well, I've been called worse. I pray Mark is probably the what he intended. I pray this question will be addressed in the next Q&A session. Well, James, your prayer has been answered. I was wondering if you could please shed more light on hours worked under the implied status for CEC. Okay, now this is actually work experience, this question, and it relates to claiming work experience while studying in Canada. So here's the question. I graduated in March of 2017, so that's last year. I started working full-time in a NOC-B occupation in April 2017, which is totally fine because study permit, when you're not in school, you can work full-time on that study permit during your regular scheduled breaks. And it says in April 2017, but applied for my postgraduate work permit in June 2017, although I was still under status as a student, under the study permit status. I got my postgrad work permit in October of 2017. Do I start counting the hours worked from when I graduated from college, when I applied for my postgrad, or when I finally got my postgrad work permit in October? Hopefully this would put an end to all my sleepless nights. Oh my, James. Sleepless nights and mind-boggling episodes. Wow, I don't know what those are. But the reality is, the answer is when you got your postgrad work permit, not before. And your question is regarding the Canadian Experience class. So let's take a look at this. If you search for this question, I'll just toss this behind me, James, right now. When you search for this question within IRCC, there actually is an answer, but it's kind of couched in a different question. So let me show my screen again. I'm going to blow this up. And then I'm going to go to this help center. And the help center is awesome. If you go here, you can get some direction. I'm not going to go delve into the regulations because that will take too long. But this is someone who's asking whether they can count work experience as a teaching assistant. Remember, this is in Canada towards the work experience requirement. So this is someone who's on a study permit in Canada and they are, excuse me, working as a teacher assistant. Okay, so this is not postgrad work permit stuff, folks. Okay, so here's what it says here. You may be able to count experience teaching. Okay, if after submitting your Express Entry profile, you receive an ITA, you must show that you did the job as described in the NOC, and we looked at that NOC for a medical receptionist, but that you performed a substantial number of the main duties listed there. And it says here, if you do not show your experience meets the description, your application will be refused. Well, thank you, IRCC. That's just brilliant. Well, duh, of course. But here's the key. Pay attention to this, folks. And I wonder, I've got it pretty big. I'm going to blow it up big so that everybody can see clearly. So there's no messing around. Okay, I'm going to keep this up out of my image so you guys can see it too. To be considered under the CEC, and this is what James is asking, you cannot count work experience you gained while enrolled as a full-time student. Your work experience must have been gained while on a valid work permit, such as a post-grad permit. So understand, James, it starts when you got that document in your hand, when it was approved. And then it says you must have gained the equivalent of someone who worked full-time for at least 1 year, 1,560 hours, in the 3 years before you submit your Express Entry profile. And that also includes part-time work. But the key here that I want to emphasize for everyone is that if you're on a study permit, you cannot claim work experience while studying in Canada under the Canadian Experience class. Okay? But look at this. This person is in Canada, right? Whoever asked the question is teaching a teacher assistant in Canada while they're going to school. So they're working on campus. But look at this. This is the thing, the greatest confusion people have. To be considered under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, your work must have been full-time, blah, blah, blah. The same thing. Do you guys notice what I'm showing you here? The restriction on claiming work experience under the while you're studying in Canada only applies to the Canadian Experience class. Okay? To be considered under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you just need to make sure that that work experience you gained actually meets full-time or equivalent and part-time hours, work continuously and paid for at least 1 year in the same occupation. That's to meet the minimum requirements for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So many people just don't understand that concept. And you'll see repeatedly people asking, well, I was going to school overseas and I worked while I was studying. Can I count that foreign work experience? And then people will come in and they'll say, oh no, you can't count work experience while you were studying. It doesn't work. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Overseas, you're fine. Federal Skilled Worker Program, you're fine. You just have to make sure that you were actually working those hours. And some people, like me, like 2 weeks ago, I worked till midnight every freaking night. I was so exhausted. And that whole week, I probably put in 80 hours, right? And so I slept 3 or 4 hours a night. And the reality is, if you're putting that time in and you're going to school, you can claim it. You're going to school during the day, working the night shift in the evening. If you meet those requirements, then you can claim it. All right? Awesome question. That's the kind of question I want. In fact, it's kind of hard to find these answers, right? Because they're all blended into one. You have to sit and listen to them all. If you think I should break these down into bite-sized little pieces and record answers like this so that people can more easily search them, give me a thumbs up. Okay. So if you think that this is something that would be helpful to make it more easily searchable, because right now, I try to list all the different topics that I cover in the description of the video, both in YouTube and on our Express Entry Law Facebook group. I try to list the topics that were covered, at least these ones that I can control. Once it gets into the free-for-all where you guys are firing off questions to me, I don't try to organize those or indicate, I answered this question and this question. It would take all day to create the post editing for these videos. But with these ones that are sent in, I try to list them. So if you think that it would be useful or helpful for me to create a whole bunch of little short ones, and guess where they're going, guys? If I create them, guess where they're going? They're going right here. They're going right here on the Canadian Immigration Institute. And I'm going to blow this up so that you guys can see this. This is where it's going, on the Canadian Immigration Institute. And you can see I'm just getting started with this. So we just have 4,370 subscribers. All of you guys listening to this, go here, subscribe, like these videos, okay? That's how they really get amplified out into the world. So if you're looking for answers to questions, it's way easier to go through my video content here than it is to try and navigate through the comment section on this goofy Facebook environment, because every time I complete a video, half of the time it doesn't even show up in the feed. It just starts to drop so quick. And Facebook's telling you guys what they think you want to hear or what you want to see. When in reality, I know all 90,000 people in our group want to listen to these videos. So go to YouTube, like and subscribe to YouTube, and then you'll get a notification every time a new video is posted. And it's almost instant. It takes about maybe 10, 15 minutes for these videos to be recorded on the YouTube channel. All right. Excellent. Okay. Let's see what we got next here. Okay. This one is from Anomi. Awesome. Tina. Tina's my friend. You can search her comments. She is someone that has been a very, very strong supporter of me, and I really appreciate it, Tina. So here's what Tina says. Can I claim points for work experience acquired while studying part-time? Okay, well, there you go, Tina. I forgot you'd asked this question. I just finished answering it. Absolutely. She said, I worked full-time from 2008 to 2013, but in between, I did a part-time postgraduate diploma from 2010 to 2012. Well, during that time in which you did the part-time work, if you were continuously working from 2008 to 2013, it's totally cool. No issues at all. You don't need to even write a letter of explanation. The reality is, there's nothing restricting you from being able to do it. So you are totally awesome. You are in perfect shape, Tina. Fantastic question. Awesome. Tina rules. And Tina purchased my guide too. So she's got the guide. She's got access to me answering her questions here. And she's got consults that she's had with me. So she's used the full services of Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer. Okay, this is the last question, guys. And then I'm going to get to all of your comments from you live faithful people who've been tuning in live. Remember, don't post them yet, because once I say now post your comments, then I'll look at the feed because I just can't scroll back up. So hang tight. We're just about there. Okay, this one's from Dorina. And she says, my name is Dorina, and I'm glad and really lucky that I am part of this amazing group that you created on Facebook. Once again, I'm not paying people to say this, okay? Firstly, I wish you a happy and successful year 2018. Well, I can tell you, Dorina, if January is any indicator of what this year is going to be, it is going to be awesome. Totally cool. I'm in the process of creating a new study permit guide, just like the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide, which will also be released on the Canadian Immigration Institute website. And I'm putting some awesome things in place this year for Express Entry within our firm so that I can actually be more efficient and more responsive to our clients and to make the whole process super easy and super awesome. And so I've been I went to bed about 3 a.m. last night. Some of you will probably have seen I was posting responses to comments at 3 a.m. last night. And needless to say, that's why my eyes are a little bit red and bloodshot and I'm looking a little worse for wear. It's called lack of sleep, folks. All right. So, okay. So moving forward here. So Dorina says, firstly, I wish you happy, successful 2018. Secondly, I really appreciate your help and the incredible step-by-step guide that you created for us. Oh, okay. Once again, I don't pick these because people are giving testimonials regarding the Express Entry Law course. But once again, for those of you who are tuning in wondering what the heck is this thing, this is it, folks, and you can find it everywhere. This is the course. This is what Dorina is used. She purchased it, she enrolled in the course, and she has had access to all of these videos all the way from the beginning. What is Express Entry? What's the comprehensive ranking system? How does it work? Top 5 things to do before you submit, all the way through to completing your profile, completing your EAPR forms, and even uploading your documents and filing it. And there's even a section on what if they ask me for something in the middle of my application process. So after I submit it, what if they ask me for something? I even created one for that. And then the passport request. And then, as you can see, folks, a whack right here. And I'm not even going to bother scrolling down through all of them. Q&As to help you with the process. All right. So after that shameless plug, once again, for my course that I think every single one of you guys should be purchasing, it's going to help you so much. She says, yeah, I really appreciate your help and the incredible step-by-step guide that you created for us. And this is the funny part. I'm sorry to admit that I was too selfish and stupid before buying it. But we say in Albania, better late than never. So at least I'm illuminated. So Dorina, that's actually hilarious. We also say better late than never too. So those of you who have already received your ITA, it's not too late. The guide, the real value is on the EAPR side as much as it is at the beginning. So anyway, so it worked for her. Okay, finally, I have a question regarding EAPR. So this is the second part. By the way, I am in process right now filling it because fortunately, I've got a PNP certificate from the beautiful province of Nova Scotia in December 2017. That is awesome. So she's got a Nova Scotia PNP. And guess what, guys? The course is still super helpful and super useful, even if you've gone through and got your nomination from one of the express entry programs for the various PNPs across the country. If you've got your nomination through the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, if it's through the Nova Scotia, BC, wherever it is, Saskatchewan, the guide still will help with 95% of the whole process. The 5% getting the nomination, that's one part. But going through express entry, you still have 95% more that the guide is 100% applicable to. All right. Dorina says, yes, this is so true. You're on here, Dorina. Very cool, my friend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Okay, here's your answer. This is for you. Documents that we should attach before submitting EAPR to prove education, work experience, police clearance, birth or marriage certificates. What issue date is allowed to have? Okay, so basically she's wanting to know, when did these things expire? Can they be too old? Because sometimes it takes a long time to get the nomination, right? Sometimes you go through the process and it can take 6 months, 7 months. Well, there were times in Alberta where it was taking over a year to get your nomination. So does that stale date or does that cause your reference letters to be expired? Well, the reality is, Dorina, that generally speaking, no. If you've gone through the process, you've obtained reference letters and used those to accumulate to qualify through the nomination process of a province, generally speaking, those are still valid because the circumstances haven't changed. If something has changed, for example, you've continued to work for the same company and your old reference letter was over a year old, well, then maybe you might want to get a fresh one, a new one from your employer, confirming that all of the things that were stated in the old one are still current. But when you look at other things like birth certificates or marriage certificates. Well, no, those documents are not going to have expiry dates. Those are civil status documents. Okay. Proof of education. Okay. With an educational credential assessment, if you're submitting that, an ECA, we know those are valid for 5 years from the date they were issued. Police clearances. Okay. This is an important one. Police clearances. If you're currently living in the country where the police clearance is issued from, then it's going to be valid for 6 months. However, if you've left that country and applied for it after you've left, then those don't expire. Those police clearances remain valid. Medicals, immigration medicals are only valid for a year. Language tests are only valid for 2 years. So every document has a little bit of a different nuance to it. But the most important thing is to remember that when you're going through and you've already received a prior PNP nomination, generally speaking, those documents will remain current and valid for the purposes of express entry. Okay. And I'm not talking about the validity dates within any of the various PNPs. I've told you how much I don't like the express entry PNP streams because I find that they're unfair and cruel to people because they give a lot of false hope. But the reality is, for your question here, for express entry, yeah, generally it's just fine. And then you've given an example about your educational transcripts dates in May 2017, and that's because of when you filed your PNP. Those transcripts are generally just fine. As long as you've got what you need, to get your nomination, those documents, the transcripts are okay. Let's see. Well, my police clearance, we've talked about that. January the 4th, 2018, that's still valid, but you don't want to take too many chances. You plan to submit your EAPR perhaps in March. So that's good. I'll be waiting for my husband's police clearance from America. Yes, and those things take a long time. So Dorina, you are totally on the right track. You're doing awesome. Each document has its own validity date and its expiry. I'm going to show you guys all one little tip here. This is the source of all goodness and knowledge and information. I'm going to blow this up here. I'm going to go to, I'm going to have to type it in. you can type it in yourself. You can do CIC or IRCC, which is the proper name of immigration now in Canada, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. You can type in completeness check, and you can see that it automatically populates for me. When you do that, then you'll get to this link that says applications received on or after January the 1st, 2016 for permanent residence programs subject to the express entry completeness check. And this will give you the answer to many of your questions, okay? So if we go here and I just search for police clearance, police certificates, actually let's hit the next one. There. You can see here that it describes when they become invalid. So right here, you can see if it's for the country where you have lived, a total of 6 months or more, then they're mandatory for that country. But the expiry date for these, it remains valid as long as you, basically for the country where you lived, it's valid for 6 months. Let's go through here and just see here. So must have been issued no more than 6 months before the submission of your EAPR. So that's where you are currently living. So it's your current country of residence. And if it's a country where you no longer reside, then, and I'm going to see if I can blow this up bigger because I want you guys to see this. Oh, maybe I jumped too far. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Oh, that's big. You guys can see that now. For countries in which the applicant no longer resides, the police certificate must have been issued after the last time the applicant lived in that country. Okay. So there you go. And then it talks about, for every country you've lived in for 6 months or more, and you need to provide a police clearance. And even countries where you visited, because it is a cumulative assessment over time. All right. So there we go. That's awesome. I am just doing my best to teach and give the answers. Okay. So here we go. Now this one is taking a little bit longer, so I don't have as much time to answer just open questions. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to check something here. All right. Let's see here. Good. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have an appointment scheduled for 1 o'clock here. Understand, this is lunchtime, so I'm doing this instead of my lunch. Fortunately, I have my fantastic Herbalife here, which is, that's my lunch, and that, together with riding my bike, helped me to lose about 50 pounds last year. Anyway, so that's my lunch, but I just drink it up, and then I can do this, and I don't lose any time. Okay, it's time starting now. Send me your questions, and I'll go a little bit over to answer the questions from you awesome people. Okay, so here we go. Drishti says, can you include in work experience paid internship done with professional course like chartered accountancy? Okay, there's no restrictions on this, folks. If you're outside of Canada, the same rules apply. If you're outside of Canada, now the questions are really pumping through here. I got to make sure that I can find the question that was originally asked here. There we go. Okay. So I think that's the one. Oh, where are you, Drishti? You guys, you're mess. Okay, here we go. I found it. There were so many that popped up. It messed my feed here, so I couldn't figure out where I started. So Drishti, as long as you meet the minimum requirements to claim that foreign work experience, and many of you are probably asking, well, what are those minimum requirements? Well, let's take a look and I'll show you. As long as you meet the minimum requirements, and I think, I don't have that open, so I will open it up. Federal Skilled Worker Program. I'm assuming you are outside of Canada. So eligibility. So I click on it and we open it up. You can see right at the beginning here, it describes, that's pretty big. We'll drop it down a little bit. It describes what you need to do to qualify. And so this is what work experience requires in order to get credit for it. It has to be, in the last 10 years, it has to be paid. And you've said that it's been paid. Yours has been paid. So volunteer, unpaid internships don't count. It has to be skilled. So knock 0, A or B. And this is the key. It has to have been at least 1 year minimum, 1,560 hours, at least 30 hours per week, continuous. So no breaks. If you're claiming a full-time for one job, then 30 hours for 12 months. You can't accumulate 1,560 hours in 10 months and then try and apply. It doesn't work. you have to have worked over the period of 12 months for 1 year. It has to be, or it could be in an equal amount in part-time. So if you work for that same company, but you only worked 15 hours over 24 months, that also meets the minimum requirements. And then you can work more than one job. So if you worked full-time at more than one job, collectively for 30 hours, then 12 months is fine. So these are the requirements. As long as you meet them, it doesn't matter if you were going to school or what you were doing. The only time it matters is if you are currently in Canada and you're applying under the Canadian Experience class and you're on a study permit, not a work permit. Okay? All right, let's get to the next one here. The next question is, okay. Oh, Neetha. Okay, Neetha's trying to wedge in 3. I'm going to answer one of them because I have to give fairness to everybody. Okay, Neetha says, hi, Mr. Mark. Well, below are my questions. Considering that I bank on PNP for extra points, how long should I keep the funds in my account starting from 3 months prior to applying for the provinces? Neetha, I always recommend that you keep it in there the whole time. Don't take it out. Always keep those funds in there and you're never going to have an issue. Is it mandatory? No, it's not. And when it comes to each province, they have different rules. So I'm not going to speak specifically to when the province wants to see that you've got those funds in your account. But once you've received the nomination and you're going through express entry, the banks ask for, and you're saying, well, where do I get this information, Mark? Where do I get it? I'll show you. This is the source of all goodness, okay? Right here. So let's go here and we'll go proof of funds right there, okay? So this is what the bank is asking for. Man, I love those check marks. Man, we've got like 104 check marks going here. That's awesome. So this is what you need to establish for proof of funds. So this is where some people get confused. You need to have a letter from the financial institution that names you and your accounts, your account numbers, the date it was opened, and the current balance of each account, as well as the average balance for the past 6 months. So some people think, okay, I need to maintain the proof of funds for the full 6 months. Well, that's not the reality. When it comes to these bank letters, yes, it's ideal to have that, and I recommend that people have that, but it's not essential. If you're gifted funds, you need to then disclose where the funds came from, that they're truly a gift, all those things. But for your purposes, this is ideally what I like to see is that people have the funds in their account. And so if you can, just do it. Just keep it there. Okay, I'm going to jump now to Vichy. I have 3 years. Let's jump back here. Okay, so Vichy says, I have 3-year work extension in IT profession or work experience in IT profession. How can we search job after filing application in the pool? Okay. This is one, when it comes to actually finding jobs in Canada, this is not my expertise. I don't offer job placement services, so I can't really tell you specifically where the best places are to go, but I'll give you a hint, okay? Now, you know, and I think we've talked about this, the job bank used to be a mandatory component for everyone to submit applications through. And so the job bank, yeah, that's the one, .gc.ca here, has labor market information related to your job. So if it's IT, I don't know what it is. We say it's the software developer. Okay, so we'll search. Oh, actually, I need to go here to menu. Then I jumped ahead of the game here. I'm going to search by Outlook. So this is the labor market in different places. So then I'll search for software developer. We'll just say that. Okay, so I'll pick this one and then I'll search. The job bank gives you some basic data on the job market for this occupation in different areas of Canada. And you can search any job and it will show you in Alberta, there's 2 out of 3 stars, which basically means that there's probably the same number of jobs open as there are people that are looking for them. But if you scroll down here to, say, British Columbia, it's 3 stars, which means there are jobs available for IT, and in this case, software developers. There are more jobs open than there are people wanting to fill them. So the market's good. So that's one way that you can look to see what your, what the job market is like for your type of position that you're looking to fill in Canada. Okay, so the job bank is one way to do it. If you're looking for an actual job when you're a software developer, then what you do is you go here and you can job search right here. And this is where job seekers can go through and they can search for positions. So if I type in here, once again, software developer, and then I search, then it will list all of the jobs that employers in Canada are posting. So there's a software developer position available in Montreal. There's a lot of Montreal ones. There's Quebec, the Dundas, Ontario. Anyway, so you can go through here, and I know people who have done this, it's not super effective because many of these employers may only be looking for candidates in Canada, but that's one of the places that you can go to get information and to look for jobs. Okay? Wow. All right. So that's a little bit outside my comfort zone, but hey, I'm sure people have answers that are better than mine out there on YouTube, but those are some places that you can go to look. Okay? All right. Okay. Ahmed says, hey, Mark, I have 1.5 years full-time postgraduate work experience after I got my national syndicate, but I can't prove my experience past a recommendation letter from my office. I don't have bank payments. I get paid cash, no medical or social insurance. So can my work experience be accepted? Okay, Ahmed, this is one of the problems. IRCC does not pay their officers to go through and analyze things in detail. They want them to be able to figure out the answers and adjudicate applications as quickly as possible. So they're looking for specific things. And if we go back once again to the source of all goodness and knowledge, this one right here, and actually I'm going to blow this up big again. And if we go right here and we look for proof of work, my throat's getting dry. Excuse me. Have another drink of Herbalife here. It's mostly gone, but I need to get something in there. My throat's getting dry. I'm talking so much. So for proof of work experience here, you can see that this is the mandatory requirements for each work experience declared. And yes, sometimes this won't work, but your obligation is to get this as close as you possibly can. And if you can't, then it's risky. It just depends on you doing the best you can, and then whether or not an officer is going to accept what you've provided. And those of you who have done certain things and got away with it and got your approval, please don't tell everybody else that it's easy. And if they do the exact same thing you did, they're going to get the same approval you do. Every officer is different. Every one of them has discretion. And just because it worked for you doesn't mean it's going to work for someone else. So this is the starting point, Ahmed. Okay. So the letter that you get, this experience letter from the employer, if it doesn't meet the requirements like you've indicated, then you need to do everything in your power to provide other information in whatever fashion possible to describe your title, duties, job status, date worked for the company, number of hours worked, and annual salary plus benefits. And you guys know why all of these are being asked, because those are the specific requirements to prove foreign work experience. That's why they're asking for them. So it's easy for an officer who goes through a reference letter trying to determine if your foreign work experience meets the eligibility requirements for the federal skilled worker program just by matching up the letter with each of these things that they've asked for right here. So you got to do the best that you can. And there is no one right way of doing it. Maybe you have a supervisor that worked with you that can attest to these things, that can swear an affidavit. You know, you've indicated that you were paid in cash. Well, it's really hard when you are, because the onus is on you to prove it. And if your work situation is just not conducive to being able to prove it, then IRCC's response is, too bad, we don't care. Another question that relates to yours, Ahmed, is when their school shuts down or they can't get the credentials. Well, we asked that question a couple years back. I think it was when I was on the national, our Canadian Bar Association's National Immigration Conference. When I was on the Express Entry panel, the officers basically said, well, no. Too bad. We don't care. If you can't get the documents to get a WES or an educational credential assessment because your school shut down, then you're not going to get credit for it. And they're heartless. I'm sorry, but they're heartless because it's all about efficiency. All right. Excellent. Okay. We are closing in on 1 hour and 10 minutes here, but let's answer a few more questions. Okay. Okay, Dimanche says, Mark, can you please advise one PNP consultant as my score is 307 only. She must be reliable like you. Oh, Dimanche, here's what I recommend, okay? I recommend, and for all of you guys, if you want to know people that you can trust in your province or your territory, where you want to live, then here's what I recommend. Okay. So I'm going to blow up my screen. I'm going to go back right here to this right here, my Canadian Immigration Podcast. And I only invite on lawyers here that I know and trust. So if you want to go through here and, Dimash says, basically, I'm looking for any PNP, anything I can do to help. So if I say here, Ontario, then I'm going to punch in here, Ontario. So here's Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. Hey, what do you know? Sarah Fagan. She's with Rakai LLP. So who else do we have here? Mario Bellissimo. He covered medical inadmissibility. Who else is in Ontario? So there's Peter Rakai. I actually had Peter on. There's Chantel Deloge, who many of you can probably see online. She's well respected. And then Tamara Mosher Kusher. She's awesome. Like you can see all these people, this is where you go. Betsy Kane, BJ Caruso. These are the lawyers that I would refer you to. Okay. And I really wouldn't refer to any consultants. Although I did have, a consultant, what was her name? I think she talked about study permits and she was an ex-immigration officer. There we go. Danny Willits right here. So she's in BC. So I would highly recommend her. So that's what I would do. Go on the Canadian Immigration Podcast, see who my guests were and listen. And then you'll see that they know what they're talking about and they're people that I can refer you to. Okay. Great question. Okay. Let's jump back here and make sure that I'm doing things properly. Okay. Indu says, yeah, he has worked with Accenture, IBM, SC, and personally with British Petroleum. Okay, we're going to skip through Indu because I don't know what the question is there. Dorina says, thank you very much. You're very welcome, Dorina. Dorina says, yes, this is so true. See, that's how far back. There's so many comments, guys. So please, I'm sorry if I can't get to your comment. You can see it's when you have all these people, you do the best you can. And the best chance you have of getting your question actually dealt with is to send me an email to mholthe@stringham.ca and put EE Live Q&A in the subject line. Okay. So if you want to get it addressed here, and if it's still not making the cut, remember you guys always have the opportunity when you have specific questions. And remember, these are important, right? These affect your eligibility, your ability to qualify. And if you have difficult situations, you can always go to this site and it's just www.stringham.ca/immigration. And I'll put it in the notes so you guys will be able to see it. But this is where you go to book a paid consultation and you can have my undivided attention. That's the best way to do it. Okay. And I'm just going to go back here and I'm just going to post this up here. It's going to be a longer one, but that's okay. We'll sort it out here. And it's kind of blue. I wonder if I can make it white. Let's see here. Okay, let's see what it is. See if we can read it. Oh, you can. Okay. Anyways, you can see here, it's kind of big and kind of weird, but that's the link that you go to send, to basically book a consultation with me. All right. Kick it off. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Artie says, do we need police clearance certificates for home country as well as current residence country? I'm residing in UAE since 11 years. Can we do it before we are selected in draw? Yes, Artie, absolutely. You will need police clearances for every country that you've lived in for more than 6 months. And I go back to the age of 18. But those countries are ones that you would need to provide police clearances for. And in terms of timing, they're only valid for 6 months if it's the country you lived in. If you have no intention of going back there, then you can get your police clearance and it will remain valid. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Okay. And I think, do you know what, guys? I didn't get to too many of the questions, the live questions, but I've got to get back to work here. I've got a spousal appeal I'm doing here in the next couple of days. And I've got a few more consults and things going on. So I'm going to have to wrap it up now. But I wanted to express sincere appreciation to all of you guys who joined me. Don't forget right here, the express entry, complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself is where you can get access to all of my knowledge and information. That's where I poured it in. That's where, if you want to know how to do your application and to save time, this is the direction you go. You can subscribe to it for a month, which is $97. It continues to renew, so you have to shut it off if you don't want it after more than a month. You can do that, or you can pay for a lifetime access. Both of those options are there, and that's pretty much it. So thanks so much, guys, for joining me. It was awesome. you YouTubers, well, actually all of you Express Entry Law Facebook people, go to YouTube and subscribe. Okay? Because then you'll actually have access to these. They're far more easier to find than within our group. So go to YouTube, the Canadian Immigration Institute, and I'll show you one more time here. If I can find the actual page. Here it is. Okay, so this is where you want to go. You want to go to the Canadian Immigration Institute on YouTube, and then you will have access to all of the past videos that I've done since I started flipping them over here. And and so make sure that you subscribe here, because it would be awesome to get these subscribers here up to about 90,000 people. All right, thanks so much for joining me today, and I want to wish all of you guys the very, very best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Express Entry.